Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back with another video. This video is a little bit different than what I've been posting recently. There are a few people who kind of have asked me to do this type of video, and rather than just pushing it off till later like I'd originally planned, I decided why not just go ahead and make a video about this. So I'm going to be talking about my MCAT experience and also mainly just giving tips and things that worked for me in terms of studying for the MCAT. If you're studying for the MCAT right now, if you plan on studying for the MCAT in the near future, stay tuned. This could be helpful for you. Okay, let's get into it. So, for those of you who don't know, I took my MCAT back in June, and it has been a pretty interesting journey with my MCAT. Basically, just for a huge overview, I started this whole MCAT journey back in September of 2019, and I did not take my MCAT until June. Now, there's a lot that happened in between. So during that summer of 2019, I was taking classes. I just didn't have enough time to really dedicate to studying for the MCAT. So I decided I will dedicate basically my fall semester to studying, and I'll take my MCAT in January. That did not happen. Long story short, I did not account for the amount of time I would really need to study for the MCAT, and I spread myself way too thin. So I ended up pushing my MCAT out to April because I really didn't get much studying done the first semester. And then COVID hit. So I had like a 3-month plan, and I had my MCAT scheduled for April. I was giving myself January till March basically to study, but then COVID hit during spring break. So that was after about 2 months of me studying. Everything just got completely just dismantled. Plans got shifted, and my MCAT was canceled like 3 times. Eventually, I was able to get it rescheduled for mid-June. I took a long break between me moving back home and me actually starting to study for my MCAT. So I took probably like a 2-month break. I started around May studying again, and then I gave myself 6 full weeks to get my last end of studying in. So the first half of that 6 weeks I spent just doing content review. The second half of that 6 weeks I spent doing full-length exams weekly. That's what I felt like I needed, and it ended up working out. Also, let me just give this little disclaimer. When I did give myself that 6 weeks, like I previously mentioned, I did already have those 2 months of studying under my belt, around 2 months, probably a little less than 2 months of studying. And also I had done like 3 full lengths, 3 to 4 full lengths I had already completed. I'm not saying like cram in all your studying in 6 weeks. I'm just letting you know that I did have some of that under my belt by the time I started studying again. After all that hectic mess, thank God I was able to hit my goal score on the nose. So I just want to give a couple tips and things that worked out for me. I do have like some friends and stuff that are currently preparing for the MCAT and are taking their MCAT soon. So I tried to kind of condense all of the advice and stuff that I gave to them into this video. Tip number 1 that worked for me was staying organized. Basically means staying organized from everything, including planning out your study schedule to actually taking your full lengths and reviewing your problem. So in each phase of my studying, whenever I had to like shift around my study plans, I would make a schedule. So while I was at school for those first couple months of me studying, I did have like a general study schedule that had a broad overview of my studying and what I wanted to accomplish week by week. And then I had more of the specifics in my phone, in my Google Calendar. So that would change more regularly for me. The weekly stuff, the broad overview wouldn't change very much because those are my broad general goals, but the day-to-day stuff would change. Maybe I wasn't able to read this chapter today, so I'll push it off to the next, and then I might make Friday's study session a bit longer. So that really helped for me. Also, staying organized with my full length and practice problems. I made why I missed it sheets, and it was just a way for me to organize like the problems I got wrong and why I got them wrong and stuff like that. So that really helped me out, staying organized. Tip number 2 that really helped me is being consistent in my efforts. So basically for me, this meant like if there was a topic that I did not understand, if there is a section that I tend to struggle with, I would hone in. I would dedicate a lot of time to that topic or that section. So the MCAT is broken down into 4 sections. You have Chem Phys, Biochem, Cars, and Psych Soc. So what I struggled with the most was Chem Phys. I really dedicated a lot of time to that because I felt pretty confident with the other sections and that material. So I spent a lot of time doing Chem Phys. Even when I was switching over to other sections and other topics, I would always incorporate some form of my Chem Phys studying in there because basically practice makes perfect. And this is also important because whether it's, you know, the very beginning when you're taking like a diagnostic test or toward the end when you're basically in the last leg of your race, being consistent really pays off because it's so easy to get discouraged, to get burnt out, to get tired. But being consistent is really what pays off in the long run. Tip number 3, practice, practice, practice. I cannot stress this enough. Now, for me, I am a visual learner and repetition works really well with me as well. So anything that, like I said, any topics I didn't understand, I was on YouTube, I was on Khan Academy, just watching a lot of videos, taking really good notes. For me, like drawing out figures and diagrams in my notes really helped, and doing practice problems. So I would set maybe a daily goal. I want to get this many practice problems done out of this question bank, this many done out of this question pack, and just like hit those every day. That's what really helped with me. So practicing, because with the MCAT, it's a lot of content, but it's also understanding how they like to ask questions and understanding how they want you to answer questions. The more questions that you do, the more practice problems that you do, you become more accustomed with the MCAT. Doing those practice problems really helped me recognize similar types of questions and similar types of passages that would be presented in the MCAT. This makes more sense as you actually start studying for the MCAT, but basically just practice problems. Doing practice, watching videos and doing practice problems, that was really what helped me a lot. And also, along with doing your practice problems, it'll be very helpful to review every single question, whether you got it right or wrong. Now, you can adjust this for whatever fits you and whatever your needs are. For me, when I would review the problems that I did on AAMC, which is that's the official organization that actually gives the MCAT, that actually writes the MCAT and administrates the MCAT. Their questions are basically composed of old MCAT questions, to my understanding. When you're practicing, you can set it to where it automatically populates like the explanation, or you can set it to where it doesn't. There was some stuff that I didn't review in as much detail because I knew it wouldn't be a very efficient use of my time. For things that I really needed to review, I made sure I reviewed every single question. Tip number 4, please remember to take breaks, whether that is taking breaks during your actual study sessions or taking a rest day. I would highly suggest it. Also, I had one rest day during the week. My rest day was Sunday. That was the day that I would just not do anything MCAT related, nothing. I wouldn't do anything MCAT related. I would do something I enjoy. And on your breaks, just try to make them actual breaks. But those breaks will really come in handy when you go back to another long stretch of studying. You're not a robot, you're not a machine. Like, you can't have the Energizer Bunny. You gotta take a break at some point. And last but not least, surround yourself with good people. Like, have a good network of people or community of people. Whether it's 1 or 2 people or like a group of people who can really support you. Having people who can understand you and encourage you when you feel like you're down and like you're just not getting these problems, you're just not hitting your scores that you want, is what really helped me. I had a good friend who was basically on the same exact journey, like basically the same copy and paste experience, and it was really helpful because even after we ended up having to go home and study from home during this pandemic, I was able to text her and be like, you know, like little updates, and she'd be able to text me little updates. And it was just really nice having someone who understood and who, you know, you can bounce ideas off of, and you can just generally encourage each other. Now here's a little bonus tip that I didn't originally add in my list, but it's also very important. I think a lot of us can struggle with that, especially, you know, if you're pre-med or pre-health or really just doing anything. It can be easy to compare yourself to others. Try not to do that. Now, it can be good to have, you know, people that you look up to and you want to aspire to certain goals, but it can also be detrimental if you compare yourself in a way that discourages you. Some of these forums can be useful and can be helpful, but there are also times when you just need to close out of Reddit and go to sleep. Know that everyone's journey is different. My experience is different than your experience, different than your friend's experience and the next person's experience. It's all about just like being the best version of yourself, doing the best you can do, knowing your limit. I would be scrolling through Reddit and people are like, yeah, I'm studying 15 to 20 hours a day. Should I be doing that? Like, you do what fits your schedule, what fits your way of learning. Another bonus tip, and this is also really important, especially for like underrepresented minorities in medicine. If you're still in college, you should try to get connected with your minority pre-medical society or your MAPS chapter at your school, because sometimes they can have some really useful resources when it comes to like MCAT studying. And I use Kaplan. And that was really helpful for me, mainly with like content review, but it's a very expensive course. But luckily I was able to get that course through a student organization at my school that gave it away as a scholarship. So a lot of times these student orgs have maybe a free course that they give away as a scholarship, that they auction off at an incredibly discounted price, or they just have discount codes if you're just a member. So I would say seeking out those resources would be really helpful if you are looking for a prep course. We must acknowledge that there are a lot of barriers to entry when it comes to medicine, and whether that is test prep, whether that is application fees, whether that is just simply knowing how to access these resources that can help make you a more competitive applicant. And especially, like I said, for underrepresented minorities, it can be difficult, like, and kind of discouraging when you're on this journey. But I think a really good step would be like connecting with student orgs if you're still in college that their mission is to support students like you, and that could really help push you in the right direction. But also, I will say, it is by no means completely necessary for you to have a test prep course. I know someone at my school who did not use any test prep company and scored like in the 90th percentile. So it's really just a matter of studying diligently and studying both smart and hard. So basically, this is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you know anyone who would find this video useful, please share it with them, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye! My leg is going numb.